Making an online multiplayer just like this doesn't just add work, it turns every small problem into 10 bigger ones. So that's why I'm doing scope surgery on this competitive multiplayer FPS game and stripping it into the smallest playable version. In this episode, we have this overscoped first game idea. It's going to be this competitive FPS multiplayer game. With like a team of 50 people, it would take you 1 or 2 years to make this, right? Especially multiplayer just adds complexity to everything. Everything you do when you add multiplayer, it just becomes so extremely complex, right? And especially when you're one person, you've never made even like a game like similar to this before, and you're just going to jump straight into multiplayer, it's going to be a complete mess. You're not going to finish this, there's like no chance at all. But we can still make games like this, so I want to preserve a lot of the core idea, like the shooting, the fast-paced type movement, AI, things like that. But we're not going to make this as complex. We're going to turn this into something that you can actually finish and maybe have this as your dream game when you are more like advanced, right? And then you can make something more like this in the future. So what I'm thinking immediately is that instead of making this 2D like I usually do, I want to keep this in 3D, because 2D shooters, that's not really, it's not the same thing. So I'm thinking this can still be 3D. But the thing I want is to have this as a top-down movement game. So I want this to be like a 3D top-down arena shooter, where we still are going to capture like the skill combat, but it's not going to have the same FPS, like first-person shooter complexity. And if you're making something like this, I think it's very important to preserve like the core aspects. So for example, the skill combat and also the competitiveness. That's a very core thing in this FPS genre. That's like the competitiveness, and to still keep like the core competitive feeling, instead of having it be like the netcode, like the networking, we're going to get the competitive feeling from other things like tight aim, positioning, and the timing. And we're also going to have AI in this game. We'll come back to that later. I'm also thinking we should have like short rounds, and we also have instant restarts. I think that's very important. When I made my third game, my first mobile game, like a very important thing that I did in the game is that I made it extremely easy to restart. So you can imagine like in Flappy Bird or whatever, this is the inspiration I had, Flappy Bird. You can just press like one button and then you restart the game, right? And I think that's such like a core thing that made Flappy Bird so addicting, is that it's so easy to restart. It's just like one more round. And it's the same with like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, whatever it might be, that it's so easy to restart a game, and it's so easy to like scroll to the next one that you're just going to do it. There's so little friction to restart. Sure, you're going to do it. Then you're going to watch ads because they play more ads, more playtime, right? More downloads. So it's just like a very important thing for these types of games is that it's very easy to restart. So how do we turn this like inspiration into an actual core loop? I'm thinking first that we spawn into a small arena, then we grab a weapon, or we can even choose a weapon, and then we pick it up. That's our weapon, right? We're not going to add more complexity. I think every round we should just stick to one weapon to just keep it simple. Then we're going to fight an AI, so we fight a single opponent. That's going to be AI, and it's going to be in fast duels. So I want duels. I want this to be like very fast paced. So we keep a lot of the competitiveness, like the fast pace, like skill combat feeling, and we're going to do that in fast duels. So the rounds are going to be very short, they're going to be very quick, but they're going to be like intense, and they're still going to be competitive. It's an AI, so it's still going to have like some variance to it, some replayability. And then the next, when you win a round, I think the arena should slightly change, so you have like some variance, or you can change the weapon for each round, right? I think that's very good if you have like some procedural generation in the arena. So for example, some obstacles might just change. That's very easy to add. It can take you like 30 minutes to add, right? And you also just shuffle the weapon, right? And then first to end rounds wins. So I think best of 5 is going to be the sweet spot. So win best of 5, or like first to 3, doesn't matter, against the opponent, right? And then you lose, obviously. It's going to be the opposite opposite of winning. In this game, it's very clear when you lose. It's not like some more complex game. In the prototype that I'm making right now, I kind of have to think about how the player is going to lose. But in this one, it's very clear, right? You don't win best of 3. That's how you lose. Opposite of winning, like, lose the match. Right, the player action is going to be move, it's going to be aim, it's going to be shoot, and you can also have a dash, since this game is like very simple. You can emulate like a grenade or whatever thing it might be in this game. You have other mechanics that you can do. We can add a dash, for example. Obviously with a cooldown on that. So, cooldown, and then pick up weapons. Pick up weapons at the start of the round, and then ammo. We can have some like, we can be creative about how the player gets ammo. Maybe the ammo can be limited, so they're going to use the ammo like sparsely. They can just like spray and pray. Maybe that would be fun. Then we can just have simple like reloads. Then the content limits. This is going to be very interesting. So I'm thinking this game, it could be really fun if you just play with the simplicity here. So we just stick to the simplicity. We don't try to act like this game is trying to be any bigger than it really is. We should just like embrace the simplicity of this game. So I'm thinking we should just have one game mode, and that's usually what I do in these episodes. I just try to embrace the simplicity. So for example, in a game like Mini Metro, for example, it's not like the developer just sat there thinking, what features can we add in this game? How can we make this more complex? Instead, what they did is that they thought, how can we make this simple game as addicting and fun as possible while still keeping it simple? When you are a solo indie developer, I think that's so important to say to yourself, you can make like the biggest game. Okay. So use that like constraint as an advantage. Play with the simplicity. Like, I'm sure this Mini Metro game, the developers, there's not that many developer accounts. Okay, I found it. I had to search for an estimate, but around 2 to 5, right? 2 to 5 people. And then we can search for sales. 1 million units. It's not dollars, that's units. And the game might cost like $5 on Steam. Yeah. It's $5, right? So the game is $5. They've sold 1 million units. Let's say there were 5 developers. That's 1 million per developer, and it probably didn't take them more than a few months to make, right? So that just goes to show, if you just do this one thing, you just embrace the simplicity in your games. You can have this nice like dream game idea. Then you can underscope it, like have it a realistic size as a beginner. And it can be a hit game. You don't even need to be an expert to make like a simple but good game. You just need to be intentional with your choices. This is something I usually say, like the idea is literally 80% of the game, but it's like 1%, maybe 0.2% of the time that you spend on the game. Like, at least for me, when I make my games, I maybe spend like 1 hour, right, on the idea, maximum 1 hour. The idea literally decides 80% of the game's outcome, 80% of how fun the game is. But I spend 1 hour on it, and then I can spend probably hundreds of hours on the game development itself. If you just have a good idea and you make intentional choices, like make it not as huge as possible, but as good within the content limits as possible, you're going to have an awesome game. Even though you're a beginner, this might be your first game. Like my channel, it's for beginners that haven't released their first game yet. So you can even have like an awesome hit game as your first game if you just know that you should make intentional choices within your constraints. We're going to embrace this content limits here. I know this was like quite a ramble, but I think it's so important and it's going to help you so much if you understand and apply the things that I just talked about. So I think we're going to embrace this, or I know we're going to embrace this. We're going to have one game mode only. We're going to have one arena with small variations. As I said, we're going to have 3 weapons, right? We're going to have 2 weapons. Obviously you can choose this, but 3, that's a max. We're going to have a pistol, shotgun, railgun, for example, or whatever it might be. Then we're going to have 1 enemy type. So it's going to be an AI, and it's going to have 2 difficulty levels. But we can also give the AI like different, each of these different weapons, so it can be like slightly random, things like that. We can be creative within the limits here. And this is what I'm saying, like if you just have these limits and you make these things as good as you humanly can, like as you possibly can, you make the duel game mode awesome, right? You make the arena just awesome and so intentional. you make the weapons like feel so good, right? They're so like intentional, they're so fun, they fit the map, they fit the game so well. It's not just like some AI code. You actually thought about how this would feel in the game and you executed upon that. Then you just have one enemy that's really good, right? And it like fits really well with arena, really well with the duel, the rest of the game, like the weapons. If it just fits very well together, like the idea here is good and the execution is like intentional, not complex, but intentional, then this is going to be an awesome game, even though it's so simple, literally one game mode, right? And then the last area is going to be the art and audio strategy. So what are we going to do for the art and audio? I think we're just going to have like minimal UI with HP, ammo, then score. And then we're going to have like, this is also something that can add a lot to the game if you have good sound effects. You can even make these yourself. If you don't find any good ones online, you can just make them yourself. Just take like you're snapping, like in my Orbital Chaos game. The like when you pulse, when you press, the pulse is sound effects is literally just me snapping, right? And then I edited the clip in Audition and things like that. So you can make them yourself, like shooting, for example. You can do something like that, right? Very simple. The dashing, you can also make the dash sound effect yourself. Just do like oh, I don't know if you can hear that, but something like that. And then you can have round start and end. You can probably find that online on Pixabay, for example. Pixabay sound effect, like round start. Yeah, neither of us have audio right now, but something like that. So we're going to write this one sentence game pitch, which is going to be the last thing. But in the meantime, I'm going to generate this reference image. I'm just going to write this very quickly. Let's say something like, yeah, something like that. Just a top-down 3D shooter in one arena fighting duels against an AI opponent, with each round being slightly different. So this indicates the weapon choices. So the weapons are random, for example. The AI is obviously like in AI, so it's not going to do the same thing all the time, hopefully, unless you're really bad at making AIs. The arena is obviously procedurally generated, like slightly, so it's never going to be the same. Something like that. I think it's really good. Let's just paste this in here. Let's go. So you can see we have the players. You can probably find models like this online. If not, then it's obviously fine to just have more simple models or just something else. This is just reference, obviously, for like how the gameplay is, not the specific models. Then yeah, there might be some like thing that spawns here. You can have like some obstacles. That's something that the AI didn't, ChatGPT didn't, yeah, like this one. You can have some obstacles here, for example. These can be like random. You can have multiple of these spawners. There's some props here. Maybe if you shoot it, then it has like a small explosion effect if you want to add that, if you think that's going to add something. Also, if you're going to make your first game, then you need to have a Trello template to obviously to plan every task and so on. So if you check the link in the description, I'm going to give you a free Trello template that you can use. It's the one that I personally use every single day to plan out my games, the tasks, everything that's done, the ideas, everything. So if you want a clean, simple Trello template complete for free, I'll send it to you on email. Then check the link in the description. I'm not asking for anything in return, just your email. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hope this helps you a ton.